My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. And look, we mentioned it on Twitter, but a bunch of you sent us a message the other night going, if only you could get Sarah Clare on the podcast. Well, we'd already organised it, guys, which is why I didn't respond to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Clare.
Woo! Hey, guys. How you doing? I'm so excited to be here. I love the Washing Up.
It's so nice to actually have you on. We've been really looking forward to this, and it's been greatly demanded.
Yes, we had a visit from Big Carrot, and they said, get Sarah on or send the thugs around.
The thugs in the carrot industry.
Fantastic. No, it's been so nice to see everyone respond so well to and wanting to actually hear more of my voice. I'm like, really, guys? I'm sorry. You haven't had enough of me.
No, they definitely haven't. I mean, we sort of joked about it on Twitter a bit over the season that like the first real focus that you actually got was like, oh my God, they're going to talk to Sarah. No, she burnt something on her hibachi.
The whole kitchen's on fire.
The whole kitchen's on fire. What's Sarah doing? She's burning it down. Okay.
It's fine. Let's do this.
I mean, look, if that's
it's
what
how
it takes.
It's how I like to leave a room. Just
yeah.
Just look, you're like,
explosion
Reynolds
behind
got
me.
his
Don't
liquid
look back.
nitrogen. I'm going to have the smoke from the hibachi.
Yeah. Yeah, like we can't all carry around liquid nitrogen canisters like Reynolds. So some of us have to create our own effect.
He has one in his man bag. He does. He carries around. I tease him about it. No.
I just
starting rumors.
See, in my mind, he's just got his own production team that like follow him around. Ready and cue it.
See, with my mind, I'm envisioning like a rocket pack and like
a liquid nitrogen rocket pack.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put it past him. He's a talented human being. A talented human being.
But speaking of talented human beings, I mean, we are talking to one. So let's get into talking.
We're also talking to Sarah, and it's not just me on the podcast.
Look at you bragging. Anyway,
no, we do mean you, Sarah.
I'm gonna start though.
Okay.
We did bring up Reynolds, and so I want to start with American. Those chicken wings. First of all.
Yeah.
Do you understand why Jock was confused about serving carrot and celery with wings? Because I don't.
Look, that is a salad.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a salad.
If you've got wings, that's a salad.
I'm a big vegetable fan. As I said from the very start of that episode, I was like, this is my hangover food.
Yes.
Like, this is the type of, I go, all right, do I want this? Do I want wings? Or do I want 2 liters of chocolate milk with cheese and bacon balls? Like, they're my options. There's no...
Here for it.
Kristie, you found your Patronus.
But I know that you go, after when you've been eating it and you're all greasy and stuff like that, sometimes it's just a little palate refresh. And
yes.
I like that.
Yep. Absolutely. And whenever you go...
I had to, you have to teach Jacques about things like palate cleansing and...
Scotland is not known for its use of vegetables. Anyway, I can say this with a Scottish last name. So Scotland, not familiar with it.
My partner's Scottish, and he grew up vegetarian, actually.
Oh my God!
Of course he did.
What did they eat? Thistles?
Well, integration is a thing.
Do you know that they call their veggie garden a kale garden?
Oh, really?
This is a true fact. Yeah, in Scotland, your veggie garden is called your kale garden. I think I'm getting that
right. They don't like vegetables. They think of that.
Have all these. Well, there's going to be a lot of Scottish people being like, "That is absolute rubbish. He is lying to you guys."
Yeah. After this podcast, you're going to be sitting there going, "What else is he lying about?" I mean, if it's not a kale garden, my whole life it's built on a lie. But no, look, I absolutely loved those wings, and like I think the thing that confused me was just that why the carrot and the celery. I'm like, every single place I've ever gone, where I've got wings, they've got that there. It's part of.
Oh no, they do. Yeah. Or pickles.
Or pickles.
Which I also love.
Yeah, but it was first of all, it was just really nice to see someone make wings in the MasterChef kitchen. That was just a joy.
Any opportunity I can get, my friend. Any opportunity to make wings, because I want to eat them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the trick should be make food that you want to eat, and so that's the ultimate in that one. It's like, I just want wings. Like, and how were there any times where you literally went in there going, what do I feel like today? Well, I'm hungry. They might not taste my dish.
You know what I do?
Mm.
when I felt like that, I would always make sure I was on Sarah Tiong's bench because I love her food and she makes big portions. It's good. So she would come back from the judges. They would be like, "This is delicious," and I would be there on my bench. I would not be worried about what they were about to say about my food. I'd be eyeballing them like, "You stop eating. You stop eating. That's mine. That's coming back to this bench, and I am eating that."
So that's why Ronald made small portions near you, because he knew.
You. And also,
Back to the bench, he'd be like, Sarah's going to eat the rest.
And also, that's the problem. I've worked out what Jock's problem was.
What?
So, like, Jock's habit this season has been, while Andy and Melissa are delivering their verdict, Jock is just eating everything on the plate.
Yeah, because he loves food.
Yeah, and so he looked at your plate and he's looked and gone, I'll just steal what the hell are those?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted more wing, not more veg.
Yeah, he's like, oh, vegetables.
not the
But I do love that side of Jacques because he is, he's such a well-renowned chef and his restaurant is very fine dining and he uses a lot of, native ingredients and it's considered very fancy. But at the end of the day, he is just like, I don't eat vegetables, like he's like, yuck, vegetables. What is vegetables? And he actually eats like a chef. Chefs generally
carbs
eat
and
terribly.
Yep.
They eat terribly. Like microwave rice when they get home because they've been cooking all day and so they get home and they just, and he does eat like a chef.
I always love whenever you get any of those shows where they do like what chefs eat afterwards and they go to these very sort of fancy restaurants and hang out with their friends and I'm like, no, you don't.
Yep. No, you don't.
We know you don't do that. You go and grab whatever the greasiest thing you can find on the way home is because you've just spent all night slaving over this food and you're like, bugger that.
So at your restaurant, do you just like knock off and you're like, fuck it, where's a gyros? Like,
I live in Cygnet, Tasmania. When our restaurant closes, there's no food. There's like nothing else around to eat. There's no takeaway. Like if I was doing the takeaway challenge, I would have been with Chris. I would have said I don't do takeaway, not because I can't, because oh man, I'm just like, but it's just because I can't, not because I don't want to, but because I can't. And I'd either, that's why we do big family meals. So at the end, especially considering as we do sustainable, and so we order kind of small amounts of everything in from local producers, and then on Sunday, especially last shift, because we only open for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mm-hmm. Sunday, there is nothing left in the restaurant. So Sunday, everything is cooked up. We've got the smallest dry store you've ever seen in a restaurant because everything we use is fresh.
Yep. Wow.
And everything gets cooked up and served to the staff. So we do big staffies, but sometimes I'll flick on the fryer and go, let's do this. Like I make pastels, which are a Brazilian pastry filled with like sometimes meat, sometimes just cheese, like just cheese. I made truffle ones once, so just Gruyere and black truffles inside pastry and then deep fried.
Oh my God.
And it was just like that.
Second dinner's a thing,
Yeah, like you may not have takeaway, but the food you have access to is pretty fucking bougie awesome.
Well, it's one of those things I kind of I feel like sometimes watching MasterChef, you forget that people have, because they want you to go, all right, this is your thing, right? But we all have so many facets of our personalities, and I could eat vegetables till the cows come home. Mm-hmm. And then I go, I have a day where I go, no, today's a chocolate day. Today I will have chocolate for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Today that's all I feel like eating. Yep. And then the next day I'm like, organic vegetables from the garden. And then the day after that I'm like fried. Now I want fried. And it's just, that's how, it's because I love food. I love all food.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. And it's why we always laugh, especially in this series more than any other, when they do the whole try to get people to say that I'm a this person. And it's one of the things in Bake Off, we always call it, it's always one of the big traps for the drinking game when we do Bake Off. Because in Bake Off, they always get someone to say, this is my week, whatever they happen to be doing.
Yeah. And you always know that person's not going to do well on their week.
Yeah, they always go home.
It's always like, oh.
And our advice we've given to people before when they're talking about, I want to go apply for Bake Off, is do me a favour when they sit you down and say, get you to try to say, this is my week, never bite, because they're going to use it and it's going to come back. And it's with this series of MasterChef in particular, you can see where they're trying to get people to go, this is my specialty. And most of the time, they're not biting. They're just going, no, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Like they did that with Jess, I think, week 2, where they tried.
It was like, actually, I do savoury as well.
Yeah, but it was the... But it was
which she does, amazing.
It was the donuts. It was the donuts. I think you said to her, was it?
I was like, I can't remember. I was like, yeah, you're the donut queen or something. She's like, no, I ain't.
Yeah, she very quickly, no.
I know how this displeases the Masterchef gods. I will not tempt the fate.
I was like, as soon as she said it, I was like, sorry, no, that's right. You're terrible at this. I'm sorry. I'm walking away.
You can't make donuts.
That said, in hindsight, what week did you feel that you pwned? Like, what week were you like, yeah? It doesn't have to be something that you expected to, but just something that... Like one week.
No, it was the produce. It was when the home growers brought in their produce. The coolest thing was, and this is one of the things I love about working in a restaurant that uses produce locally, is that I know now, because I've never been a green thumb, never, and now I'm growing my own stuff. I know now that look on somebody's face when there is just like, you know, when you put a seed in the ground and you nurtured the absolute living crap out of this thing and you finally get the produce from it and it tastes exactly how it should because it's grown in soil, not hydroponically, not fast, it's grown properly. And you have so much pride in what you've done, and then these people gave us this produce and you can see their produce has been shown on national television, a show that goes out around the world, and watching us cook with their produce, they were just beaming, and I was so proud to get to use that produce. Like, it was really, really cool. It actually, I don't think translated as well, because obviously you've got to pack everything down into an episode. I don't think it translated as well as it being there. It was a really intense feeling, and it's the same as the stadium cook, actually. That was.
I'd almost forgotten the stadium cook.
Yeah, link it up from
that was a lot for everyone. That was a lot. The sound when you were there, it was so overwhelming. I think when you walk in and you see and they cut to Poe crying, it's just because it was too much. We walked in and because we could see, like, as we're walking up to the doors, there was a slight crack in the door and I was like, oh my God, what is that? What are that? And we could hear something. As soon as you open the doors, the sound amplified so much.
It's a knockout thing.
It felt like a physical wall of sound. And everyone got really kind of like emotional, and people all dealt with it in different ways. And it was really cool to be there.
Yeah, you just looking for the fucking...
Oh my God.
You could see the introverts from a mile away. They were the ones standing there going, what the hell is this?
He's going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of people that were not. And I was like, oh, me, no. It was so much fun.
No, that would have been like, the stadium cook would have been a really surreal experience. Like, I couldn't imagine, like, suddenly it's like, why is there an audience? Holy shit.
I wouldn't know. I didn't cook.
But that was the thing, because you didn't even have to cook.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I didn't get to cook.
It was a weird, like, that was a weird one. I said, and the produce one, I thought it came across. I think the only thing that hurt it for people at home was then they went, and there's a Coles up the road because sponsors. And I think that was your only problem, was they you to cut it with the Coles trip.
Yeah.
And the woman getting the photo of Simon from the other end of the Coles, which was hilarious.
There was some really funny moments that day. There was a guy who he got out of his ute and he stood like with his legs wide apart, his arms crossed, just watching the filming. But he was like in the middle of the shot, like almost the direct middle of the shot. And everyone had to go over and say, oh, sorry, we're just filming. And he's like, yeah, because clearly he can see we're filming, is why he's standing there. But they were like, oh, do you mind?
Was it the guy? Was it the guy in the jumper that was in the stadium show? Had he turned up again? Because he got a lot of airtime. But
No, he was my favourite. He was such a good cheerleader. He was incredible.
Yeah,
he got a lot of airtime.
Yeah, because he was like the first person to start all the chants, and he was like really getting into it. And it was not expected. Like when you looked at everyone, you wouldn't have thought it would be him. That would be like.
I mean, if it was post-COVID, I'd understand it because people have been missing their football and stuff. It's like a thing that is relatively like a sporting
event.
Ball.
Off they go.
Off they go.
Yeah, watch them cook. It's a surprising spectator sport. It was a spectator sport though. It was so much fun to watch. That was a really cool one. It was
that was fun. I said, and with that Parkland cook, my other favourite moment of that in the background was there was a moment where there was a mother and her son I think it was in a car, and the windows are down, and they're just hanging out the window watching the cook at one point.
Tell when the school runs were going on.
Yeah, I thought that the son was going to jump out the door and like run over and like steal something off a bench, because he was like eyeing it all off, and you're like, no, don't do it.
And then they obviously got on the community group board and gone, guess what? MasterChef are filming in this park.
Oh, yeah.
Cars
all of a sudden everyone's there. I think the best thing was us, we were all standing there, and I don't think they were rolling. I think they were waiting. They were resetting or something. And we were all standing, waiting, and these guys across the road came out of their house with their dog, and their dog ran across the road to say hi to everyone, and it was just a collective. Oh, you're a good dog! Oh my god! And everyone, we just went. Man, he was such a good dog.
You guys are like such a good dog, and production's like, get it away from the food.
Now you all have to wash your hands.
Yeah.
Poe and Hayden's cakes are there, and the dogs are like running off with them. So
very hard to concentrate when things like that happen.
I can imagine it would be like, and that's the thing when you've got that outside interference sort of coming into the situation. You're like, it's a very streamlined cook. You're sort of in your own head. There's cameras, there's lighting, there's sound rigs, and now you're like, there's members of the public. Mm-hmm. And it's always interesting to watch sort of those challenges. I mean, they opened with a large crowd actually. That first sort of big challenge
at the beach.
Yeah.
Which my co-worker was at, because she was on holidays with her family down in Melbourne, and she's messaged me. She goes, Kristie, Masterchef are filming. And I'm like, well, don't tell me anything about it. I want to watch it, enjoy it. She goes, I'm going to send you some pictures. And I'm like, oh, no spoilers. And she's like friggin' 50 metres away, so it was fine.
Yeah, because you can't usually see me.
No, you don't
dressed as one of the Wiggles, usually. It happens accidentally, and it's one of those things because we don't know when it's, well, actually some people know because of the day of the week. They go, oh, it's this day, we're probably going to be doing a group challenge.
Yep.
But I'm an airhead with stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know what today is. I don't know what the day of the week is anymore. It's
you get in the car, you turn up to whatever destination they drive you to.
So I forget it's a group challenge. So as usual, I wear a bright colour, and then they hand out these aprons, and I go,
oh, it must be groups.
Red and purple with my orange hair. That's so classy, fantastic.
And I tweeted it out the other night as well, but I did like that for your last challenge, you did go very Lucille Ball with the hair wrap and the.
You have no idea. My car's name's Lucille. She kind of has two names because I also call her Kindy after Kinder Surprise because she looks like a little Kinder Surprise egg, and if anyone hit me, she's falling to pieces. I'd be like the toy coming out. You have to put me back together.
Yeah, I was going to say
reassembly.
You fall apart. You just got to follow the instructions.
Clip it back together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really funny because again, it struck me and I used the right give of it too. It struck me like the chocolate episode where she's like
chocolate, where she's trying to where the beta belt's going too fast, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite episode. I love it so much.
It's a classic.
I think we should all strive to be more like Lucille Ball because she actually built an empire
she ran Hollywood for a long period of time.
Fuck yeah, she set up
Desilu Studios were huge.
If it wasn't for her, there'd be no Star Trek.
Star Trek,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, she was the first woman to be visibly pregnant on TV. They told her she couldn't, and she said, "Screw you guys, I'm doing it anyway."
Yeah,
and she did a lot of stuff like that. So be like Lucille Ball.
Always feel like Lucille Ball.
Was it you or someone I know saw a really good burlesque done?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the chocolate thing.
I was down in Melbourne for an Armageddon for the convention.
Yeah.
And they did a sci-fi based burlesque show. And yeah, there was one of the ones who did the Lucille Ball chocolate as a burlesque strip.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Perfect.
I'm here for that.
It was so well done. So look, we'll come back to this series in a moment.
My favourite strip I've ever seen.
Okay.
You're like, sorry, this is
Kristie. She runs her own show.
My favourite strip I've seen was it was a women's empower, like it was a feminist production, and I was in the first half in an act where I basically stuffed my husband with as if I was cooking him on a black and white TV show. But then my mum came to see that night, so I stayed for the second act. And in the second act, this amazing woman did this strip, and she's very butch, and she was doing it to Melissa Etheridge's what is it? You know, the
Somebody bring some water.
No, the one where she's like, you know, if I can't have you, you know.
I don't want no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it? Are you trying to get me to sing? I won't.
No.
Hey, you sure? Go for it.
We'll talk about the Rolling Stones in a minute.
Yeah. So thinking it, like, you know, she's miming it, she's stripping, and she like pull off like her top in a like really strong frenzied flurry, and then just very neatly fold the clothing and just pop it down in the corner.
That's so good.
And then when she got down to the top, she came up to my mum and was sitting in her face, and my mum just like loving it.
Yeah. That's your mum all over.
So then she kindly rolled up her socks and popped them in the corner.
Of course she did, nice and neatly.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things. I don't think anyone's ever watched a strip and been like, "Oh, don't throw it on the floor. I just washed those." Can you
you know how
I cleaned up 5 minutes ago.
I have.
Look at this place; it's a mess.
And you don't care. So we'll come back to this series of MasterChef in a minute, because look, if I don't go back and we don't talk about Carrot 7 Ways, I'm going to be shot. I kind of have to.
Why not?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, your first point was, why not 8?
Is that just ridiculous and too many?
Yeah, look, 7 is the right number. 8 is
I think Matt actually said, I don't know if it made the cut or not, but he actually said, "Oh, well, it's actually 8 ways because of your hair," or something like that. Yeah, and it didn't make the cut. Which, do you know what's cool about this season? It would have made the cut.
Just do a little blink downwards and go, actually, there's 9 ways.
All right.
What? I am
not a natural redhead.
Yeah.
Well done, Kristie. Well done. No, but it's
way to make it smutty.
It always is.
I'm the queen of the garden.
You are. So, but it's one of those dishes that, like, it still gets talked about, and as you know full well, there's a bunch of people on Twitter who still include the carrot in their name.
Yeah, I love it.
In your honour.
Represent.
Yeah, especially since there's a bunch of them who are all accused of being you on Twitter at one.
So what is it? How did you managing, like, you know, 600 Twitter accounts at the time, you know, supporting you?
Yeah. Which is funny because, you know, I did message you guys before I went on this podcast to say, hey, can we go just a little bit early, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure out how to use my phone.
It's because you were
have so many
accounts, they slow it down.
I told friends about it because they have given me such a long time. I was the last one to join Facebook. I was the last one to join Instagram. They had to just bully me into it because I just.
You were still on the Telegraph.
I know. I'm sending pigeons.
Yeah, that's like carrier pigeons. But the problem is when you've got carrots and things like that, you know, the carrier pigeon never makes it.
No, yeah. Yeah, so, don't cook them first. Oh, that was that.
I've had pigeon. Anyway.
Me too. Squab.
Nothing meat. I didn't really like it.
I know. Did you enjoy it, Sarah?
I love it. I think it's beautiful. If it's done well.
You've got it. It takes the flavour of whatever you flavour. It really takes on the flavour of whatever you.
So the one I had, I've had it twice, both at the same place, and it was really beautifully gamey.
Yep. It's got a good gamey texture to it, but what I found,
See, perhaps you shouldn't have just caught the pigeon like in Martin Place.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
No, I had to
actually get it from a proper place, not just like off the street.
Like it was.
It's half hit by a car. I'll just finish the job and away we go.
Yeah. So what I found was that it said it took on the flavour really of whatever you use to season it, and like it really doesn't. More than almost any other meat, and if it doesn't pick up that bit of flavour, it was gamey, but it wasn't bad. It was just sort of a bit of a nothing.
Right.
And that was where
you need to find out Sarah's pigeon guy.
I need to find a pigeon guy.
Pigeon lady.
I actually know. Weirdly, I do have a lot of different poultry guys. That sounds. Oh my god. That sounds terrible, but I do. I've got a duck guy who does amazing ducks where I get all my duck from, and again, it's you buy a duck from the supermarket and it's white, it's overly fatty, it's got no flavour. You get duck that's been raised well, and the flesh is almost purple. It is really gamey, and amazing product. I use Laqua Poultry and the ducks, Swedish Blues, Swedish Blacks, Indian Runners, really great varieties of duck that I use.
And they pair well with lingonberry?
I'm a big fan. Sorry?
Do they pair well with lingonberry, being Swedish?
They probably, well, they would though.
Yeah, they should.
They really
lingonberry, actually, yes, it should balance quite nicely. Well done.
Yeah.
I'll go buy a duck tomorrow.
What other guys do you have, or ladies?
Well, I'm a big sucker for interesting poultry, and I like guinea fowl and partridge.
Yep.
I've had peacock. Mutton bird is amazing. Mutton bird is a really interesting bird. There's a mob down here that do really beautiful mutton bird. And it's a weird thing because it's a bird that tastes like fish. It's a very fishy bird.
Wow.
Very fishy bird.
Yeah.
But it's called mutton, which is like a lamb thing.
Lamb, yeah.
It's just messing with you.
It's really meaty.
It's the Julia Roberts gif drawing like this. I can't work it out.
It's like one of those flip books that you have when you're a kid where you have to match all the animals,
parts.
The head with the body with the legs. It's kind of one of those to eat because it's like a really meaty bird. Like it's kind of almost like duck, I would say, in texture, but darker. It's like really oily.
Mm-hmm.
And then fishy.
Suddenly really fishy. So we'll come back to that. I've got to go back to carrot seven ways.
Okay.
If I don't, Twitter will lynch me, and I don't need any more people on Twitter.
No,
I jump off topic. You got to.
That's okay. We jump off topic all the time. You've heard us. We jump off topic all the time. We're on topic. So first of all, how does it feel that like still this far after that episode, people are still mentioning carrot seven ways?
It's brilliant, and I'd like to think that it doesn't have have anything to do with the fact that I'm a ginger. Like, I would really like to think that it was because that dish actually did mean a lot to me, and it was quite funny because I've always had a bit of a rant about carrots because down here in Tassie we get bunches of carrots that are rainbow carrots. We get purple. So there's hundreds and hundreds of varieties of different carrots, and I've always said, oh man, I just wish these were in everybody's supermarket. Like, it wouldn't be any more difficult to grow them because they grow all year round. They're amazing vegetables, and I really wanted to showcase them. So when they were like, well, you've only got $20 to do a dish from Coles, I kind of went, right, well, I don't buy my meat from Coles. I buy things from Coles. I think everyone has staples, but predominantly I use a butcher, and I
have a Cocoa Puff person. They can't breed those.
No, they do not.
Where are you going to get cheese and bacon balls from?
Free range Cocoa Puff.
Cheese and bacon ball true.
Straight away, like I walked in, I saw the Dutch carrots, and I just went, yeah. Now I get to. This is what I wanted. Like, it was the first time, because one of the things with Masterchef, and I think I touched on this really briefly when I was leaving, I said to the judges, actually it was the pressure test before the pavlova. I said to them, I'm really frustrated because I don't feel like I've cooked anything that I've wanted to cook. Like I don't feel like I've cooked any of my food. And it's because it's really overwhelming. You walk into a pantry and I don't know, I'm actually a Labrador trapped in the body of a human. So I walk into a pantry with that many ingredients and I'm like, food. Oh my God, food. And I lose my mind. I start just grabbing stuff. And I didn't learn. Like, it's not how I cook in my kitchen.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn from the first time around. And I said to myself, I said, when you go back, take a minute, breathe, don't run around the kitchen like a crazy person. Walk into the pantry with a clear head. And they're like, and your time starts now. And I'm like, run.
It's the running of the bulls. It really is.
And I never run in a kitchen, like in a kitchen. If you were in a kitchen and you saw someone running, you'd be like, slow down, you fool. You're going to kill somebody. Everything is on fire.
The kitchen's on fire. And like,
well, it's my kitchen. It could.
Yeah, it's your kitchen and it's hibachi, possibly. But it's interesting because like it was like Poe the other night in one of the episodes where everyone rushes in and they're frantic and everyone comes out and Poe's doing her Sunday shopping. There's the basket on the arm.
Yeah.
She's very calmly going,
Auntie Poe. I love that.
And I love the fact that she's like, I'm not changing for anyone. I don't care if you've got cameras and time pressure. I'm shopping.
I'm doing my thing.
What do I want? And that's it's that ability to take a breath and go, what do I want? And not have the judges come over to your bench and go, so why did you pick that? And you're going, oh, it was on the shelf.
Well, actually, here's a bit of an inside scoop for you. Chris and I would go in, and they have really nice, really expensive anchovies in the pantry, like really nice anchovies. And we would always get a tin or two and a beer and pretend that we were going to cook something with it, and we would eat it and drink it in the kitchen.
I wanted someone to do that.
Well, I panicked when they showed me drinking out of a measuring cup. I panicked because I was like, oh God, I didn't think they'd use it, because I did it all the time in my season. My season, they were a lot more conservative, I would say. And I sang crap all the time as well, and they never put it in. And then when I saw them showing that, me drinking out of the measuring cup, my brain went, oh, good God, what else have they got you doing on camera that they're going to use? Because I think at one point, Chris and I cheersed out of a bowl. We poured our beers into those little silver bowls and we drank out of a bowl. There's no glassware in the kitchen.
See, I just like the idea that they showed it, and in your head you're going, oh my God, everyone thinks I'm drinking bone broth. Yeah. No, I'm not. It was beer.
It's really beer.
I promise you, it's beer.
The judges were just like, cheese and crackering at every.
It was.
Possibly, I love they eat like
possibly my favourite change to this season was literally you guys have started a challenge. They'd cut to the front, and there are the three of them just going, pass us some of that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a drink. Give me a drink.
Did anything get passed up to the gantry at least? Like that would suck.
Oh yeah.
That's the benefit.
We got stuff thrown up all the time. Like everyone's throwing stuff up. Actually, in the challenge where they had to recreate dishes from Jacques' restaurant, Jacques actually brought up the dishes for us to all try. That had never happened before. And as I said, like I'm going to say this a lot because I don't think you really understand how much I mean it, but I am a Labrador. So when I'm up on the gantry, I think in my season there was a gif of me going, I want chicken. I want this. I want that. Like I would stand up there just being like, you're torturing. This is, for me, this is torture. Like standing up here, looking at the good food and not being able to taste it and understand it. Oh, it was so bad. And when he brought it up, we're like vultures as well, because I think that's what it is. We're all kind of like Labradors.
Everyone
those videos where someone sits on the ground?
Yeah.
Puppies just like pile on. But with food.
It's like everyone loves good food. Good food appears on the gantry and everyone's like, oh.
I'm just imagining like the producers being like the people on Tiger King, like just kind of like handing things in with like a long set of tongs
along
I got
poles,
temperatures.
so they didn't lose an arm.
Come
Ooh,
back.
too soon.
Come back. One of the producers talking like 3 years later, like with no arm, going, no,
Yeah.
we all knew there was a problem at that point. But,
Yeah.
I wanted to protect the contestants. I didn't want them put down. But that's like because we obviously
they're innocent.
they're innocent contestants. Because obviously we do Bake Off as well, and one of the joys that they have in the Bake Off shed is that first of all the hosts are clever enough to go around and eat as they go and steal all the cuts. But secondly, the second they go stop baking, and everyone just descends on the benches, and it's like
That's what happens in our kitchen as well.
Yeah, it's an
That's what
absolute
happens in
free for all.
Masterchef too. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. So
And sometimes there's no cutlery. 'Cause and we're just hands, you know.
It gets awkward at soup week.
I'm just imagining handfuls of cake.
So
Yeah, that's how I tried Poe's lychee chiffon cake, and that changed. I'm going to sound like Andy right now.
go on, Andy,
But I'm not a cake. I've always thought I wasn't a cake person, but it's just because apparently I've been eating bad cake this whole time.
Yep.
I find that a lot of the time cake is more structurally sound than it is delicious.
Yes.
You know, when they build a cake and, you know, you have middle layers styrofoam or whatever, I don't know, tastes that way.
Rice Krispies.
And
Rice Krispies.
I hate it. And I've always just been like, don't really like cake. I tasted that cake and like I felt like the scene in Ratatouille where he eats the ratatouille and he has a flashback to his childhood. I have never eaten chiffon lychee cake before, but when I tasted it, I felt like I was 5 and tasting cake for the first time. It was just phenomenal.
No, it is really funny that you sort of go through life, and I had a similar sort of thing to you where I'm like, not massive on cake, and then you're introduced to good cake, and there's a difference.
Yes.
You go, I'm eating a fucking cloud month.
Yeah,
It's the best.
We were very lucky enough when we got to go to the Bake Off Grand Finals, and fuck me, those bakers can put on a picnic. I'm thinking if they can do that, imagine what a MasterChef picnic would be like. It'd be fucking insane.
nuts.
Just so much good food, so much good food.
Madness.
Yes.
It would be absolutely brilliant. It'd be insane, but it'd be brilliant.
It would be crazy.
You've sort of.
I just imagine Khan bringing in like a flambéed fucking pineapple.
Yeah, he would.
Massive statue
on
fire.
So obviously you talked a little bit about some of the differences. Like I can't believe they're showing this, but sort of was it a different experience sort of coming back in, both in terms of just from obviously you having more experience and knowing a bit more what to expect, but also just with the different sort of the changes.
It was so different. It was so incredibly different. It was. The judges weren't so serious.
Yeah.
They were so kind of, the new judges are just incredibly vibrant.
Yes.
Just mucking around, being silly with each other like an actual kitchen. Like, I don't know, you watch chefs, and outside of service is very serious, very, very serious. And kitchens are very serious places, and we're working ridiculously long hours, and everyone's exhausted all the time, and you get through it by just taking the absolute mickey out of each other and teasing and joking and being, having that vibe. And they're like that. I mean, their energy gave me energy. Every time you go into the kitchen and they're being silly and joking, and Mel's dancing or teasing Jock because he'll eat a whole packet of biscuits or something like that. We would laugh. Everyone would start off happy and laughing, and it had kind of set the tone. Then you've got energy to go. You don't feel so nervous. It's like shake it out kind of thing. That was very different.
It's something, by the way, that the audience at home, I think, picked up more than I think a lot of people thought they might have. That the audience at home picked up just this feeling from the judges of, this does feel fresh. This does feel vibrant and energetic. And
Melissa is our new queen. And I like her sidekicks also. And
we've obviously, we were massive fans of her doing Chef's Line. So and when they put it up, I think last year we talked about the idea of she'd be great on MasterChef, and then they did it. And we're like, thank you.
Because we're like, oh, she'd be fantastic on MasterChef, but she's got chef's line. She won't go across. And then next thing you know, she's being announced. We're like, oh, this is going to get fucking cool and real.
Yeah. It's so good. And she's genuine. Like, I can tell you this, off camera, she's just as genuine. She takes time out. She comes, speaks to everyone. She's so warm. She, has been in contact with me since I left. She's just like, she really, really gives a shit. She cares. And, I think that's why people really respond to her, because the way she is on camera, it's not fake. It's not fake. She's not doing it. She's not hamming it up. She genuinely, she gives a shit. And
you can't
tell. And she's smart. She's so smart. Yeah. She's as sharp as a tack and hilarious. And a bit of a dork, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. And it's one of the things. It's one of the other reasons why we were so thrilled to see that she went on. And obviously, Jock and Andy are also amazing additions.
And there's no disrespect to them.
But
I love them so much, but I still call them her sidekicks.
They are. They are though, because one of the
Robin and Robin.
Yeah. But one of the reasons why we were so pleased.
One of them is her hand, and the other is an advisor.
Yeah, it's just one of the reasons we were so pleased as well is and we talked about this when we mentioned to people about Chef's Line, was that rather than just Asian flavors, it's very specific. It's talking about the fact there are different regions, cultural backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds within countries. And so when people go, for example, someone would go, oh, they're making Southeast Asian. So, no. What type of Southeast Asian? Yeah. What flavors? What flavor profiles?
This is so true. And we need so much more of this on television. I mean, I love Tasmania so much. However, I miss cultural diversity down here. I miss being able to go out and have any type of food I could possibly imagine. We got a Thai restaurant, which was I know. This was big news. Yeah. It was very exciting.
By the way, that Thai episode, I don't know if you saw it, one of the most robust debates online was... And it's something which it warmed my heart to watch everyone on Twitter debating quality of Thai in different parts of Australia. What was genuine Thai? What dishes are Thai to you? And it was brilliant. It's a conversation I'm like, 10 years ago, people aren't having that debate.
No. 10 years ago, Ian Hewitson was the only person cooking Thai.
I'm going to make a bit of a green curry.
See, I was a bit lucky growing up in a miscellaneous city. I mean, I had Chinatown down the road. And King Street of Newtown, which basically every second restaurant is a Thai or was a Thai restaurant back then. So, I mean, it was diverse back then, but it's even more fucking diverse now. So
well, this is the thing. I cook modern Australian food with South American influence. It's what I know. I've lived in South America. I get the flavors. I love the flavors. What do I want to eat? Not modern Australian.
No.
I've had amazing meals, don't get me wrong, but it's usually more about, wow, that's a fascinating technique and this and that. What I want spice. I want spice and flavour. And, I remember when we went to Adelaide in my season.
Yep. And
Matt Preston actually recommended for us to all go to Poana. Yep. And so we did, a MasterChef trip to Poana, and we all went. And man, the food, it's just good, And I was like, oh, just everywhere should have an Afghan restaurant. Yes. Everywhere should have, and a specific region of Afghan. And she used to work for the royal family. So it's celebratory food. And it's that type of thing. I find that with a lot of the contestants, when they're cooking food that comes from their heritage, it is just so much more amazing.
Yeah.
They give it.
Yeah, like Thursday
You don't ever want to disrespect that food. So you make it the best you can, and it is packed full of flavour, and it's amazing. And I want that on my TV. I want cultural diversity on my TV.
Absolutely. Like on Thursday night when Poe and Jess, got to share their comfort.
Oh, yeah.
It really hits home that, we're not a homogenous society. There is so much more going on. I mean, I went to a little inner city school that had, I think, 80 students and about 30 different nationalities. So there was always different foods going on. And my mum was horrified because I came home one night demanding we cook curry.
And you know, I
She's
went
like, but that's hot and spicy. And I'm thinking, yes, and it's not KFC.
and I went to a school with a lot of Lebanese influence and those sorts of things. So I was introduced to a lot of that sort of cuisine as well, and a lot of Vietnamese as well.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where you get that diversity. And I mean, one of the things
and you introduce it to your parents.
Well,
and now my dad's a bandit for fucking time.
He is every time
he's
see
like
him.
you, Sarah. He lives in a Thai bereft place. You know?
So he comes to the Big Smoke.
Their local pub deems it fancy when they put half a slice of Kraft cheese single under your salad.
Yep.
So he comes to the Big Smoke and he gets Thai every time. But it's like one of the things I do is I teach like things on like society and culture, and I talk to the kids about diversity and this idea of acceptance, and talk about the idea that a large amount of that acceptance comes through food. And say to them, you know, if occasionally with a senior class I'll go, we're going to get some food. What do you want? And traditionally it was always, pizza. Now you say to them, what do you want? And you're going to get every different cuisine under the sun. Somebody wants sushi. Somebody wants Thai. Somebody wants Vietnamese. I'm like,
Lebanese chicken.
I'm
usually.
like, this wouldn't have been a discussion. So, and it's things like Masterchef that had started to open the door traditionally. But I feel like this season in particular, it's like, it's not just open the door, it's kicking the damn thing down.
Yeah.
Pointing, going, look at diversity.
It's just knocking down the whole structure and opening it up to, so much cool stuff. So
it's one of those things because when you think about it, you know, pizza used to be that.
Yep.
Because back in the day, that was you know, it was the Italians and the Greeks that were coming in.
Yep, I believe you'll find
everything.
Italians.
The Italians, yes.
Yeah,
and there's my favourite clip I use for this, and I've got to find it again and put it up on the Twitter. But I've mentioned it before. There's a video that I used to use to show the idea of this diversity and how hard it was in the 50s, with a guy advertising this new thing coming from the continent, cup of chino. And it was cup of chino, not cappuccino. And
oh my God, I've seen that. Oh
yes,
my God,
forget tea. Try cup of chino. And I'm like, oh God.
So good. I think I may have seen it on I can't find the clip anymore. Show that I remember seeing it. Oh, that's fantastic. I've forgotten about that.
And I love using that clip just to demonstrate, like, when they talk about diversity, and I say to them, have you ever looked at a Chinese restaurant and seen that Australian menu? And they're like, well, some of them, yes, with like the steak, and I said, because they go to the restaurant, but they weren't eating the food. And they're like, but the food's the good bit. Like, we go to Yumcha and get like all this stuff that like we can't pronounce because it tastes good.
I think on another side of Masterchef this year, what I'm loving is more kind of like showcasing, or not even showcasing, but just normalizing the use of Australian ingredients, like native Australian ingredients.
I was actually about to bring that up, because I was going to say it's amazing having cultural diversity, but first we really have to start acknowledging the true owners of this country and actually having respect for the Indigenous community and everything, like, you know, all the culture that they have that is not recognised.
Absolutely. And also the injustice that goes on with food with Indigenous peoples in Australia, you know, remote communities being charged a fucking fortune for the staples of life. Or I should say colonized staples. It's just, and restrictive access to
water. I mean, I remember when the bushfires were on and everyone was, you know, like there were celebrities around the world saying bushfire appeal. And I think that is fantastic, because there were a lot of people that were in need, that lost their homes. However, there had been a small Aboriginal community in the Northern Territory that had gone without water for 6 months. Their town had not had access to fresh water for 6 months. And it wasn't on mainstream media. It wasn't on the news. No one cared. It wasn't. That's what it felt like. It felt like no one cared, or no one knew about it. Because it wasn't affecting them. And this is what is hard in this country, because there's sorry.
That's
my partner making me a drink. That's the ice tray.
When he's done with that, we'll have one.
We're having Campari sodas.
Yeah,
I have
okay,
to
fine.
take it
Send 'em
down a notch because I drank every time anyone said kingfish. Now I'm a little,
literally, by the way, while we've been talking, somebody messaged
shiny.
around there
Yeah.
to tell us that they were drunk after the third kingfish.
Yeah.
There you go. Had no idea.
Well, yeah, it's nice to be able to speak about, because Masterchef, it's reality TV and it's fun, but I love talking to you guys because it does bring up a lot of other topics, and I think that's something to think about. And I think especially having Jock as one of the judges and showing
having Jock there, and he did his challenge the year, and that was really good to see. But then to have him there now means you're going to get more of that. And obviously, Melissa's also done, with Chef's Line, with Mark Olive and stuff like that too. So there's been all these conversations around that.
What I want to see now,
it's just very important when you're getting Indigenous ingredients that you go through the Indigenous community.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's the most important thing. I always make sure, because I do use a lot of Indigenous ingredients in the restaurant still, and I did a pop-up when I first came out of MasterChef. I did a pop-up called Wild where I used native and Indigenous ingredients from around Tasmania.
Oh wow, that would have been really cool.
Yeah, I used a lot of things like wallaby and a lot of the.
I'm going to ask you about that because you've cooked more wallaby, I think, in MasterChef than anybody I know.
Yeah, because I use it like people use steak.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get here. It's good for the environment. It is delicious, and I've replaced a lot of other meat with it because it's not as rich and intense as steak. So I still will get a bit of picanha every now and again, a bit of rump, but I tend to use offcuts now. So I tend to use heart and tongue, tail, trotters, that type of thing, because I feel like if you're gonna take a life, respect the animal.
Yeah.
In Australia, we tend to use the very specific cuts of meat, and then everything else is just by the wayside. So I use, I make feijoada in the restaurant sometimes as kind of a speciality, put it on the specials, and we use some pigs' heads from Fat Pig Farm. We use their pigs' heads, which is a Wessex saddleback, and they're all free ranged through the orchard there.
But it's one of the things too that you explain. Like I love proper Brazilian barbecue, and one of the things I like about that is, again, the use of as much of the animal as humanly possible.
Yeah, chicken heart.
Again, I've had to explain to people a number of times about chicken hearts, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know if I can have them." I'm like, "It's just really intense chicken."
Yeah.
I'm like, "It's just a really intense chicken flavour." I'm like, "It's beautiful."
Yeah. Do you know what's really cool? I was really worried about how that type of dining would be received in Cygnet in Tasmania, where we have a population of 500 people, and it is tiny, and they had 3 pubs, one burnt down. They had the top pub and the bottom pub. And it's kind of like, it burnt down a very long time ago.
I was about to say.
It's a very small. I wouldn't just be like, it burnt down. Oh, whatever. It wasn't me, I swear.
I wasn't going to raise it, but now you do.
How about you? But it was that kind of, that town, and I was worried how my food would be perceived, because I had ox tongue tortillas. No, ox tongue tostadas. With native ingredients and things like that on the menu, and no one batted an eyelid. Came in and were like, "I'll have 3 of your chicken heart skewers, thanks, love."
Yeah, it's always nice to see.
It was brilliant. Really impressed.
So we will come to happier things before we finish up with you, but we need to because I'm about to rip the Band-Aid off.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to rip the Band-Aid off.
Okay. Talk about it.
So, what was wrong with your box? I had to do that. All right, no, look.
How dare you? Nothing was wrong with my box. It's delightful.
Yeah,
look.
What did you internally? You saw the box, and I don't know.
Just tell us about your experience.
Describe.
I looked at it and I went, "That's tempered." Do you know when I make tempered chocolate?
Mm-hmm.
when I'm forced to for a Masterchef challenge. Masterchef.
Which is the answer.
Pressure test.
The answer for most
These are all the times I've tempered chocolate. I practiced tempered chocolate the first time around.
So I presume after your season, you thought, I'll never have to do that again in my life.
Yeah, because this is what I do. I temper chocolate. I go, right, I've nailed that. I know how to do it. I can do it perfectly. Mm-hmm. And then I never make it again. And I forget everything I learnt.
Yep.
That's what I do. It's one of those things as well. Sometimes I'll be flipping through a notepad that I find, when I'm tidying, and I'll go, oh man, I remember that recipe that I used to make all the time that I didn't even remember that I knew how to make. Yeah, I'm a bit terrible. I just forget recipes very easily because I'm always like, oh, next
one. I wanted something new. But the box
chocolate,
fascinating in terms of, like, I looked at it. And again, it always brings back, I've got a couple that I always go back to. And the one that I always go back to the caramel egg yolk, which always struck me as, like, and I don't care how delicious it might possibly have been, it always strikes me as the most ridiculous thing ever. And as I said at the time when Eloise went home on that one, I'm like, look, if you're going to go home doing something you do every day, like adding caramel to an egg yolk.
Injecting an egg yolk with caramel.
Yeah, and I mean,
if you're going to go home, Sarah, you may as well do it stuffing very intricate things into a little black box.
Yeah.
But it looked like it was one of those ones where you started and, like, halfway through the challenge, it almost looked like you were looking at it going, this isn't going to go well.
And who were you going to stab because they took you?
I was like that at the start. I actually looked at it. I went, that's a tempered white chocolate black box right there. I was like, what fresh hell is this? There's no way.
Forget what's inside it. I'm just on the box. I mean...
They're like, what did we make? What did you make for us today? I made you wallaby. Deal with it.
and you'd had a bit of a week anyway, because you'd had you'd had the previous, the cook, I think it was 2 before that, where you'd served the tartare, and they'd be like, I don't really like this, and the egg had broken.
They were like, it's too beetrooty. It's a beetroot challenge.
It was a beetroot challenge. I had beetroot in there.
And it's funny because I actually put so much more beetroot in that than the one in the restaurant. But I was like, they're going to say I can't taste the beetroot. That's what they do when they're like, you need to hero something.
Yeah.
You just never hero it enough. So I was like, I'm going to pump this full of beetroot. They were like, it's too beetrooty. And I was like, damn you.
Yeah. And I'm like, why so much beetroot? Come make up your mind. I can't work you out. So you had that happen, and then the box obviously hits.
Well, that and the pavlova where they took which was not a pavlova, which I don't know if I would have been able to whip up a magical pavlova. I don't make them either.
I deliberately wasn't going to mention that because I got very angry on the podcast about that one, about the taking of the
taking the menu away. It was kind of one of those things. It's like, oh, do you know, by the way, in that episode, I made my first ever mirror glaze without a recipe, and I actually nailed it.
Nice work.
And you got so much coverage for that.
Yeah, right.
Can you ask?
Here's my flop on a plate, and bye.
Can you ask for the footage and go like, can I get footage of that so I can prove it? Look, mirror.
On the wall, on the cake.
So,
I could have just said, like, I could be lying. I could have made a terrible mirror glaze, but I can say that I made an amazing one because nobody has footage of it.
Yeah, look, we'll come back to the box in a minute. I just have to say, Twist Week, was everyone really glad to see the end of it?
Oh God, it was fucked up.
Because I felt like everyone in Australia felt like they were done with Twist Week, including, by the way, the judges who at the end were just like, fuck this.
They were just like, sorry, we're really sorry.
Can we just move on?
Melissa's like, we're sorry. Maniacal laugh. We're sorry.
The only bonus of Twist Week was having Katy Perry there. I mean, how fucking off the planet was that? And how did you cope and not go into a puddle?
That was amazing because look, this is going to be unpopular opinion. It's not the type of music I listen to.
That's fair enough.
Oh God!
You can.
I think she is incredible, and I know who she is, which I was really proud of because there are a lot of pop singers that I don't know who they are. And I haven't been living under a rock, just down in Tassie, so I do know who Katy Perry is, and I've watched her on stuff before, and I just think she's hilarious and fantastic and wonderful. don't listen to her music, found out that day that she sings the MasterChef theme song because I did not know. And I thought it was
fan of hers, but
I just thought it was so weird that they chose to bring her on as a chef, as a judge. I was very confused. What is going on here? And everyone started singing because they're hot, and I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. I'm yet again an idiot. Of course it's Katy Perry. Of course that's why they brought her on.
That is now my favourite story of all time.
I'm so glad they didn't use that because I'm on it, and yet I've told you.
Oh, well,
but I was up on the gantry like
that to the end of time.
I was like, wait, what?
No,
Wait,
I'm not a fan of her music, but I like her.
Yeah, she's
and
a
so
yeah,
I thought
100%.
The energy
100%.
she seemed to bring from people just watching it at home, and
She
especially
was
given the way that week had been.
Yeah.
It was.
We needed it. We needed Katy Perry. That's what we needed. That's what everyone needs in their life. Everyone needs Katy Perry.
How long did it take? How long did it take Reese to recover?
She knows my name.
Because
I don't think he's ever recovered. To be honest.
I checked in the other day on him on Twitter, and he's like, "Thank you for asking."
Yeah. It was so funny to watch, and obviously they can only fit so much into an episode, but it's just like there was so many funny moments. And
you've asked for your footage of your
Sarah was hilarious. Sarah Tiong was hilarious as well. Like seriously, I thought she was gonna faint. She was like,
well, she did. Katy Perry coming up and just whispering into her ear behind her.
Yeah, like
I'd have lost it. I'd have just been like sploosh.
You've asked for your footage of your Mirror Glaze. They've asked for the footage of all the Katy Perry stuff.
Yep.
And just play on loop at home.
But it's crazy. I did not have that much energy when I was pregnant. If that was me coming onto a cooking show when I was that pregnant,
yeah,
it would be me sitting on a lounge chair just making people bring me their dish.
And
like just you. What's your name? Yeah, would you make? Excellent. I'll have that. I'll have that. Yep. One of those two, please. That would be it for me.
Like I said, she just performed at the MCG, and then she's in MasterChef, and you're like, "What are you doing? Like, sit down."
Yeah.
I only know one person who has that much energy when they're pregnant. Huda. But and
oh my God,
I may have told her to sit down a few times while she's pregnant. She's like, "I'll rest later." But same energy.
Yeah, her just never rested. She has never rested.
No, she does not. She does not.
No.
And I know she will listen to this.
Bon Jovi song, incarnate.
And I know that she will listen to this. And again, sit down. I know it's late at night and you're currently cooking something.
Yeah.
Down, Huda.
Stop cooking. Stop cooking for everyone.
Stop it for 5 minutes. Just take a break.
Relax.
Have a breather.
Put your feet up.
So, when you went in for the judging, obviously, were you kind of convinced that was it, or did you think you might be lucky? How were you feeling?
I hope this is probably going to sound bad, and it's not how I'm meaning it to sound, but I hoped it was me because I really didn't want it to be Sarah Tiong.
No.
And it was between us two, and we kind of knew it was between us two. And, this is my thing, is that this time around, one of the things that was really different is that I had so much work to come back to. The restaurant, and I had, my son and my partner and kids and a house. And it was kind of like, it was, they always say on MasterChef, what have you given up to be here? But it was that thing of like, man, I knew that I was putting things on hold, but, email after email after email, I was like, I'll deal with it later. And I was like, at least if I'm out, I get to go home to my family. I get to see everyone. I get to go to the restaurant. I get to, fire things back up again. I get to go through all the stuff that I have to do and get stuff done. So I this time it was very different. Last time it was, MasterChef was my bubble. It was my escape from reality, as well as like this amazing opportunity. And I was having so much fun, and I was getting to do all these incredible things. and I really, really, like, last time I really missed my son. This time, not so much. He's grown up to be a jerk, to be honest.
You're like, break.
Do you know what he said to me when I left? He said, "You're not on MasterChef anymore, Mama." Haha. He's my biggest troll.
Look,
He's got his own Twitter account just going, Sarah's terrible. She doesn't deserve to be there. Kick her off.
He's a funny kid. Look, he actually did his own cooking segment tonight because I made we did fish tacos. We caught some mackerel and made some fish tacos for dinner, and he decided to make his own that was better, and he put apple on his, and it was very funny, and he did like a little segment. But we've told the kids that they can choose to choose a meal. They get to choose a meal each, because it's getting to the point where I go, all right, you know, I can't have this many judges in my life. Now I'm off MasterChef. Because, you put food in front of them, they're like, what's this? You know? So I was like, okay, fine. You guys choose a meal each a week. And we haven't started it yet, but when I was quizzing Elvie about what he wanted, he was like, octopus. Right. This was not a good idea.
See, in my mind, I'm waiting for him when you go, so what do you want to make this week? And he goes, I saw a really cool black box, and I'm gonna make.
He does that though when he's watching.
I'm gonna make this black box.
And I make dessert. He's like, "When are you making me that?"
Troll level 10.
It's just full troll.
Full troll.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna make the black box, and I'm gonna do what you couldn't do. I'm gonna take chocolate.
I'll serve it for dessert after butter chicken.
So it's obviously that it's a vastly different thing to go back in, because also the other difference, I suppose, is that you sort of know, if not know them, know of pretty much everyone else in there when you go back in, and it's a completely different thing to all these people that have never heard of each other before.
Yeah.
So you sort of look out for what other people can do, or when you get to a challenge, start going, oh God, this one here, they know that off by heart. We're done.
We're fucked.
I don't know, kind of one of those things, because this time around I was different in the sense that I was like, I'm just going to cook what I want to cook. I'm not going to compare myself to anyone else. That's why, like, quite often I'd put my dish up from the mystery box, and they're like, what do you cook? I'd be like, I don't know.
It's a mystery to me.
I don't know.
What's it a mystery?
No
it's a mystery to me too.
No consequences is not great for me, because I just went off topic. I was like, what am I making today? Who knows? I'm going to use all these ingredients. I'm just going to, I had fun. Mystery boxes were just my favorite thing this season, because there was only positive repercussions off the back of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm going to try doing this thing that I've never done before, because I'm using these amazing products that I've never used before, and let's see what happens.
The smartest thing that happened this season was removing the immunity pin. And we talked about it on the last couple of years of the podcast, and it was like, it's becoming more of a distraction than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's taking away from food. And
and there's more opportunities we found this season where, you know, invention, like you said, there's no consequences, so you can experiment.
Be inventive.
People are actually being
do things that I wouldn't have done, thinking, oh, this might put me into the bottom three, so I'm not interested. But yeah, doing things that and it was kind of that thing. It's like, maybe they wanted more drama from us when they were like, we don't love this dish. I was like, oh yeah, that's all right. Next mystery box, we'll try again.
I mean that's okay, because like we're at the point now in the actual episodes where, you know, the Globe is about to provide all the drama for them. So, you know, that's can't wait. It's gonna be great. Drinking
it gets weird.
Plague week. Yeah. See, I'm going to throw something out there.
Yeah.
I feel like pressure tests should be part of immunity challenges and not elimination challenges.
Yep.
Because I feel like elimination challenges should be contestants really showcasing what should be keeping them in the competition.
Yep.
And not because and I'm not actually talking about myself, even though I am not good at I'm not good at pressure tests. I'm terrible. Do you know what I do? I pull up a recipe, and if it's longer than a page, I go, I'm just going to find a shorter one.
How
How do
So
you
right
find
move.
how do you
something
cope with
shorter?
food bloggers who are like, okay,
That
here's
is-
my recipe for mac and cheese back in 1693?
It's like this, when you get a long recipe and you go, oh, Jesus, I don't want, first of all, I don't need to know about your trip to Barcelona before I read your recipe for yo-yos. I just don't care. I don't care. It's amazing. Don't care. But I'll find a shorter recipe that seems easier, even if it's going to turn out that it's not a good recipe. I'll be like, I'll try this one because there's less reading involved. And I know, right? And then they give us these recipes. They go, don't worry, it's only 162 pages long with elements that involve, injecting caramel into an egg yolk.
And then it becomes twist week and they're going to take it away from you.
And you only need, like university level English to understand the reading comprehension involved.
They're like, you take your isomalt and your... and you go, I'm just like,
where would food TV be without isomalt? But we've talked about this in other seasons before, though, too, around that. And the other side of that is I like the idea that it should be you cooking something that you're passionate about to stay in there rather than the recipe, because at times there have been previous seasons, not so much in this one, where people have stayed and they've been, every time they've had to cook something where it's been their own thinking or stuff like that, they've had a really bad week, and they can follow a recipe and just go step by step by step by step by step.
Alternatively, whose first language is not English, get to one of those challenges. And I think it was Tati was one person that I want to highlight, who's a fan-fucking-tastic cook. And she, had to
it's a reading comprehension test.
Read this recipe. And that it's not because she's not intelligent. I'm not saying that. Anyone who can speak 2 languages or more, I am fucking in awe of, because I can only swear.
This is my thing, is that I can, English is my first language, and I read that. I was just reading it, and you'd end up, because what happens, you're under pressure as well, and your brain does really weird things under pressure. Well, mine does anyway. It does things to my taste buds as well, where sometimes my taste buds just go.
Just what you want when you're sampling dishes.
Well, I got through the Nigella trifle challenge by guessing ingredients that Nigella usually uses. I could not taste a thing. I was like, must have saffron, no doubt, saffron, sherry, probably. And I went through ingredients that I knew were most likely in it. I could barely taste a thing because I was so nervous. My mouth went dry and I just went. And that has happened to me a few times in the Masterchef kitchen, where I've been tasting a sauce and going, oh man, I know the balance is out. But usually I could taste somebody else's sauce and I could tell you every ingredient in it. I'm like, really love doing that. I love picking ingredients in dishes. When I'm in the Masterchef kitchen, that goes out the window. Pressure really affects me in that way. I get really, the anxiety causes my taste buds to go, and my brain just goes blank as well. And I will in a pressure test, I'll read it through. I'll go, okay, I need to do this, and this. I'll get to the bottom. I'll go to do it and go, oh, I don't actually know what I just read. Let me read it again.
But it's true, because the pressure sort of
blends. Stick in there.
It blends everything together, and it's sort of and when you're reading a recipe, like if you're doing it at home and you've got a really long recipe and there's no pressure, there's no cameraman standing over the top of you with someone going, tell us what you're doing now. There's none of that, and you're still going, have I read all of step 3? I'm sure I've missed something.
And I'm a visual learner. I'd need to get color coded
and pictures,
and I'd need highlighters, and I'd need.
But we've all done it. Every single person has gotten their phone out to check the time, looked at the time, put their phone back in their pocket, and gone, I don't know what time it is.
Yeah.
Like it's that just times a million.
Mm-hmm. The other day there was something pressured going on at work, and I was running around frantically trying to find my phone, which was in my hand, and I was looking at it. Literally looking at it, and I'm like,
today.
where's my phone? And someone went,
sending a message.
Yes, what are you looking at? It's nuts. It's again, pressure does those sorts of funny things. So before we finish up, then, in both iterations of being in there, what is your favorite? 2 things. What's your favorite thing you've cooked that was yours? I'm assuming it's possibly going to be carrots 7 ways. And of all the challenges you've ever done, what was your favorite challenge?
Oh, I know my favorite challenge. That's an easy one. That was actually flying to the Royal Mail.
Ooh, yes.
Chopper ride.
Oh.
skimmed over the Yarra through the middle of Melbourne.
Yep.
Headed out to the Grampians, where it was just like, you know, we could see the Grampians in the distance. I went to the Royal Mail first time when I was 18 on a date. Had no appreciation for food. Cannot tell you. Ate Dan Hunter's food. Could not remember. Did I say 18? I was 18. Did I say 8 or 18?
18. You said 18.
You said 18.
Did you fly in at 18? Were you chop it in?
On a date when I was 8.
Were you chop it in?
No, unfortunately, no. But when I became obsessed with food, I've always been a little bit obsessed, but when I became really obsessed with food, I was always kicking myself. I was like, oh man, I wish I'd really paid attention to what I was doing. And then I was like, no, I live in Sydney. I've got a kid. I'm never going to go back to the Royal Mail ever, which is out, you know, it's all the way out in Dunkeld. It's near the Grampians. And I was like, and I'd said it to Kristen. I'd actually said, we were talking about restaurants we'd gone to, and I said, you know what, I went to the Royal Mail and I remember being impressed by the food, but I really can't remember what I ate, whereas now I could tell you verbatim what I ate. You know, and I was like, and I said, I find it really disappointing because I'll probably never go back there. And then they were like, this challenge, you've got to have 2 people, and you know, your team captain and your vice captain, and they get to chop to the Royal Mail. And Chloe straight away went, you cook that type of food, you love that type of food, you're a captain. And I was like, oh God, I love you. It's amazing.
Have I told you that I owe you for the rest of my life?
Yeah, right. It was very cool. There was a lot of cool challenges, but for me, that was top. And as far as food I have cooked, the dish that got me into my season of Masterchef, I was really proud of that. And it made the cut, but Gary said to me at one point, he said to me, and it may have been off camera, but he said to me, I actually couldn't pick a single thing that I'd change about that dish. The cooking, if everything was perfect, the flavors were perfect. He said, that's one of my favorite dishes I've eaten. And I just kind of was like, whew.
It's actually been a common theme. Everyone we've spoken to in Masterchef, most people, when we talk about favorite thing you've ever cooked, a lot of the things that come up are the dish that got me in. Mm-hmm. And that's the one.
Do you know what that is? It's because it's a dish that it's very similar to working in a restaurant.
Yeah.
I have never met a chef that would design a dish and put it on a plate and serve it to customers. Mm. You spend months working on dishes. You try it out. You go, yeah, okay, that works, that doesn't. And that's what you do for your dish that gets you into Masterchef. You get to actually spend time and energy, and you get to practice and figure out the dish. So you know it. Yeah. A lot of the things that happen on Masterchef are like, okay, mystery box, you've got these 4 ingredients that you've never cooked with before. You've got 12 minutes and you're only allowed to cook with one hand. Go. A lot of that is kind of...
Welcome to Chopped.
Like, panic. I love that.
Don't we all?
So good. I want to wear the giant shoes. I have worn the giant shoes. But yeah, it's that kind of thing. So when you care about a dish, and I care about that dish, like cooking wallaby for the judges, that was a big deal for me because outside of Tasmania, people don't really eat a lot of wallaby.
No.
They go, oh my God, they're so cute. Yes, so are lambs and cows and pigs and chickens, and they're the cuter, the tastier.
Yeah.
I have alpaca on my menu. Yeah, but it's because it's a byproduct of the industry of the wool industry down here, the alpaca wool industry.
When we're all travel again, we're going down. That's it. It's happening.
Yeah, and people were up in arms. They're like, "Oh my God, you eat alpacas? They're so cute." And I was like, "They're probably less cute than lambs, I would say. I think lambs are probably the cutest thing on the planet."
Yeah,
but it's also, well, they either get put down and buried, or the butcher comes in and I get the meat and we make the most of it. So which would you prefer?
Exactly. Now, probably the last question, I think it's a really important question to ask. It's a vital question to ask. Did you have to fight Simon for access to all of the vegetables?
Yeah, we actually had to, everyone had to arm wrestle Simon for vegetables, but luckily he's got a weak arm.
It's the lack of meat. Lack of iron.
No, he's like, oh man, I love talking to Simon about food. Simon's got great food knowledge, like all food knowledge. And we bonded over like our love of really similar dishes.
Yep.
And I actually made a dish in the kitchen that was a kind of a mushroom and egg yolk dish that didn't get shown at all.
Did it make a montage? No.
Yeah, it was for something. It was for, oh my God, come on, brain. It was one of the challenges that we had to take the dish up and we were all waiting in a line. They were tasting the food.
Oh, yeah, was that the time one?
Sure, why not?
Because the time one, they had everyone in the line because it was whenever you finished.
Yeah. It was that one. And I did mushrooms with a broth and egg yolk. And I really, really loved that dish. And it kind of, I'd been talking to Simon about mushrooms. That's what made me go, oh, I'm going to cook mushrooms today. And it was actually one of the dishes that I was most proud of during this season. Yeah. And the judges liked it. It's a shame that, there were so many of us and
get on.
There was
no montage of mediocrity.
What it was is I'd said, I'm not running in the kitchen. And I'm just going to cook a dish. It was very calm at my bench. Very, very calm. There was no running.
Which is not good for TV.
It's boring. It's boring.
Yeah,
no one wants to watch that.
You've got to at least make it to the montage of mediocrity. That's the aim. Aim for the montage. If you're in the montage of mediocrity, you live to cook another week. That's the rule. It's how you do it.
That's my montage. To be honest, there's been a few montages of mediocrity in this season.
The montage of mediocrity is a highlight for everyone at home. And this has been a genuine highlight of a podcast. Sarah Clare, thank you so much. This has been an absolute delight to be able to talk to you.
Is there anything?
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks so much. I've had fun. I forgot it was a podcast.
That's what we do all the time. To us. So, as Kristie said there, is there anything you want to plug? Go for it.
Anything? Oh, gosh.
Just be careful.
Actually, right. So many things. No, get down to Tassie when the borders open. Honestly, we live and die on tourism, and there are no tourists around at the moment. Now, our hospitality industry is failing, like all hospitality industry around Australia. If when the borders open, come down, go to Grandview. They are amazing. They make a Sheep's Way vodka and a Sheep's Way gin, and they are also making hand sanitizer at the moment, which is delightful.
Good. Yeah.
Like all distilleries around Australia right now, trying to keep themselves afloat. Go check out the Dusty Mermaid down in Geeveston. She does incredible vintage fashion. Check her out on Instagram. Nice. And Three Twigs down in Cygnet is a little clothing store run by three lovely ladies, and just support local business. That's all I can say. It's like, if you kind of are at home and you're bored and you think, oh, I could do with a new rug for my floor, or you could do with a new ... Yeah. Just try and find something that's Australian made and actually support local business. So I'm getting my earrings right now from this lovely lady and she has a business called Min and Molly, and they're incredible and Australian made. Mm-hmm. And she's got her own business, and that's what we need to do. We need to kind of support each other because we're all trying to stay afloat right now.
Exactly. So thank you very much again, Sarah Clare. Hopefully we get to talk to you again at some point in the near future. Yes. This has been an absolute delight. Okay, until tomorrow night, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We'll catch you all later.
Ciao.